If you're watching this video, you've been working out with resistance bands, and I'm here to tell you, you've been using them wrong. Now don't worry, we've all done it. I've done it, and here are the things to fix all the wrong things you're doing with resistance bands. So the first thing you're doing wrong is that you're matching up resistance bands with weights. You're trying to replicate the same thing you do when you're lifting dumbbells or a barbell with resistance bands. Well, resistance bands work differently. You actually want to take the weight requirements with a grain of salt, because a lot of times the weights vary depending on manufacturers and they haven't really been tested of the right type of resistance. Another variable is that resistance bands have linear stretch. So because of that, they're going to vary in the pounds of resistance or kilograms out there as more as you stretch the band out. So it actually is tougher the more you stretch it, and it's a little bit lighter the less you stretch it. So that's why you can't match it up the same way as you do in the gym. So instead of matching what you do with weights when it comes to resistance bands, there's going to be a whole new curve. So you want to make sure that you start doing exercises starting off light, and then you can find out what your level is and also match up that brand. Because just because one brand you can do arm curls at 25 pounds doesn't mean you're going to do the same thing with the same number on a different brand. So it's going to take a little while. I would say maybe about 3 days or so. You do your exercises to understand what is the pounds that are on the label of the end of the band that's going to match what you do with that exercise. The next thing you're doing wrong is that you're not using tube bands and loop bands. Now, tube bands are the ones that come with handles. Those are the ones you most commonly see. And loop bands are the ones that are completely circular and they're flat. There isn't this thing where it's like a team like iPhone versus Android, okay? Both of these tube and loop bands are going to be beneficial for you. So don't limit your workout because you're a team loop band, okay? So make sure that you all open up all your different exercises that you can do by having both of them, because there's some things that are going to be a lot better on a loop band versus a tube band and vice versa. You may find that doing a squat on a loop band is going to be a lot better for you, and you're going to feel that muscle contraction a lot easier than you will on a tube band, or on the other way around. Like, I made videos about the best way to do squats, and you can take a look. There's about 5 or 6 variations you can do with resistance bands, but I'm mixing it up with loop and tube. And this is that way with a lot of different exercises, because everybody's bodies are different. So with that, you don't want to limit what you can do by just sticking to one type of band. Now, the next mistake you're doing is you're not subscribing to my channel, because my channel is dedicated to getting you fit with resistance bands. So if you're a resistance bands enthusiast, you need to make sure you're watching my channel, because I have tips, tricks, a lot of different workouts that you can do, and product reviews. So if you're in the bands, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now, the next thing you're doing wrong, and I was guilty of this myself, is loading too many bands on one carabiner hook. I know that you're trying to match up with weights, you're trying to build muscle fast, so you're trying to load so many up. And that's the issue, is that when you do that, you're sacrificing a lot of different form and stuff like that, and you're not really contracting the muscles. You're also putting your body in a bad position. You're gonna find yourself leaning a lot forward. You're gonna see your spine curving because you're trying to get all those bands up. Well, a lot of that comes from actually using cheaper bands that you find on Amazon that are pretty like low discounted. And so you're trying to load them all up because you're like, hey, I'm stronger than these bands. So what I recommend is like using good quality bands that actually have great resistance. I have a lot of different reviews on bands. My favorite ones that I use are Bodylastics. If you want to go check out the review why I like those. But if you want to look at something that's going to be a little bit better quality than the cheapest ones on Amazon, you'll see you'll stop loading up all those bands. And when you load up all those bands, it actually leads to more things going wrong, okay? Some carabiner hooks on the cheaper ones cannot really withstand all that type of resistance with all those bands on there. And then metal things pop, and you get your handles, they'll crack in the middle. So you want to make sure that you got a good quality band, that where one band is going to suffice for the type of resistance that you need for that exercise. Now, the next thing you're doing wrong with bands is that you're not utilizing the eccentric motion. And what that is, it's like the part where you're releasing or relaxing. I'll use an example like when you're doing a bicep curl, like on the way down. You're not controlling it on the way down. You're letting it go down because the bands are a force that's pulling you. So it's just easy to just kind of like just let it go down because you're like, okay, as long as I'm getting it up there, I'm getting my pump going, then that's what I need there. But the key to really helping you build muscle, and I'm a guy that's into bands for building muscle, okay? You know, there's a lot of people who use it for different things. I'm here to build muscle. And if that's you, hit that like button because we need to make sure we show the whole community how to build muscle with resistance bands. Now, what I'm saying is on the eccentric, it's gonna use a lot of muscles to stabilize you as you're coming down or you're at the end of that movement or you're retracting that movement. And so with that, you get all those little muscle fiber tears that you need to really build good muscle. So you wanna make sure that you're slowly controlling the band in every motion, whether it's a push, pull, up, down. Controlling it on both ends is the best thing that's gonna help you build that muscle. Now, another way you're using resistance bands wrong is that you're not using a door anchor. A door anchor really gives you good leverage to use a lot of different exercises and adds more resistance. Also, people's heights vary. So if you're the type of person who like to stand on a band, if you're doing like a bicep curl or anything like that, well, if you're a little bit shorter, you're getting like less resistance there. But with a door anchor, you can walk forward, backwards, increase, decrease resistance. Also during the exercise, if it's getting a little tough, you can do a little James Harden step back and then you can get a little bit less resistance, or you can add more by going forward. The door anchor opens up so much more. It also gives you a lot of different angles. Just like how if you're using, let's say like a chest fly, well, there's three portions of your chest. There's an upper, middle, and there's a lower. But if you have a door anchor, you can really vary those different resistances. Now, if you're a person who doesn't have a door for any reason, I get comments about that. There's also things that have it so that you can wrap them around poles or anything like that to make it so that you can also have that door anchor. So not having a door, don't let that limit you. But if you do have one, which most of you I think do, make sure you're using a door anchor. They're very inexpensive. I'll leave a link for one down below because this will open up so many more exercises for you to build muscle. Now, next, what you're doing wrong, now besides that door anchor, because the door anchor, like I say, that's a basic need that everyone needs, but the other thing you're doing wrong is that you're not utilizing different accessories that are going to help you build muscle. And I mean accessories like there's straight bars, there's curl bars, there's foot platforms. All these things are really going to enhance the way that you work out. It's going to work out different areas. It's going to give you more stability. It's going to give you an angle to hit the muscle better. There's a lot of different companies out there with different accessories. I've done a lot of reviews on them, but the ones that I've narrowed down that are the most innovative and the most effective and also good quality are going to be things like Clinch Fitness, Bodylastic. Some of the things that they have is that like Clinch has a foot plate, Bodylastic has a curl bar that I love. They also have an ultra door anchor so you can have different points, because speaking of those door anchors there, you have to move them every time. Well, they created something where you have different anchors on the door. So all you have to do is move the band and keep the door closed. So it just adds a little extra convenience there. And it's not just them, there's different ropes and stuff like that. If you like loop bands more to do your bicep curls, there's ones that have handles that you can put through the little slit there and use that there. Also, there's gloves, but there's a ton of accessories. I'll make sure I leave a list of one of the top ones that I recommend at the bottom. And I also have a video showing the top accessories for resistance bands, so make sure you check out that video. But you want to utilize these accessories because you'll find like something like a curl bar is going to put your hands at an angle that makes your biceps in a more contracted motion. So that's why it's good to use different accessories besides just the bands themselves. Now, the next thing you're doing wrong, and I'm telling you, most people are doing this wrong, I know you're doing this wrong, is that you are using the wrong type of shoes. Think about it. When it comes to bands, you're dealing with something that's a little bit more unstable, and you need your body to be stable to make the workout effective. You yourself need to be stable because that band is bouncy. It's different angles. You're putting your body in a stable position and you're moving the bands and keeping everything stable. So with that said, you need to make sure your feet are stable. And the best way that your feet are stable is that you need a flat type of shoe. That's right, flat with very limited to no cushioning. A lot of people out there, they're working out with running shoes, okay? They've got their Hokas with the big foam on the back because they're comfortable, they feel good. But the problem is all that foam, and it also has a thick in the heel and it's like thin when it gets to the toe area. It's putting you at an angle and the foam is making it so that you're not stable at high resistance. So with that said, you're using a lot of leg jujitsu to keep yourself stable and you may be unaware of it, which is making it take the focus off of the muscle. And that's what we don't want. We want our body as stable as a statue, and then we want to move and focus on that muscle that we're trying to build. So you want something flat. Some of the inexpensive ones are going to be things like Converse Chuck Taylors. They've been around for forever. Vans sneakers. If you want something that you feel like you want just a tiny bit of cushion, but it doesn't affect your stability, but they're going to cost a little bit more. I really like the Nike Metcon sneakers. They're very good for you. And there's also a company called GORUCK out there. I've been using those for a while there. It has a little bit of an arch, but not as much to affect your stability. If you like that little arch feeling in your foot, these are things that are some of the best workout shoes that you can use. But no matter what you choose, and I'll make sure I leave links to the ones that I like at the description, but no matter which one that you choose, you just want to make sure you want something flat and stable. Don't use a running shoe if you're using that to work out with resistance. Use that for running, okay? It's designed to propel you forward, but you want something flat so you can have a good stability when working out with resistance bands. Now, the next thing you're doing wrong is that you're focusing on the numbers, and I'm talking all numbers, okay? You're focusing on how much pounds of resistance I'm using, how many sets and reps that I'm using. You're focusing on all those different numbers and you're just trying to hit those or beat those. The key with resistance bands is that you really want to go off of feel. You need to trust your feel in yourself, okay? So what I mean by that is that you want to feel the contraction of the muscle. Your body is stable. You're using your contraction there. You're making sure you're getting a tight contraction, all right? And you're releasing. Every time I want you to think in every single rep is, how does this feel? How does it feel? Am I contracting the muscle that I'm intended to for this exercise? Am I feeling pain in a different area? Am I feeling my workout in a different area? Okay? You need to have this internal dialogue. What you don't want to do is that, okay, I'm going to do this exercise for 8 to 10 reps. And then once I get to 10, I'm done, but you don't feel challenged. That's the key, is that you want to make sure that in that rep range that you're doing, if it's like 8 to 10, you want to start to struggle at 8 and it's getting almost impossible to do 10. That's the right range you need to be in, but with that, with good form. So you want to feel how everything is. And the other thing is that in that same example of 8 to 10, if you get to 10 and you don't feel challenged, go beyond that. Don't worry about sticking to that 8 to 10 number, okay? Keep going. Make sure that you really exhaust the muscle. Make every set count. Don't waste a set by saying like, okay, I'm gonna save this for the next set. No, keep going until you completely can't do it good in good form on that set, all right? And then you go to your next set. So you wanna make sure you stop focusing on the number and how you feel. Am I feeling a pump? Am I feeling exhausted? This is what you're thinking in every set, not just a workout, in every set. So don't focus so much on the number. If it feels like you can go more, do more, all right? The key is that we want to completely tear all the muscle fibers for muscle growth. So make sure that you focus on yourself and how you feel more so than the numbers. So with that said, the next thing you're doing wrong is that you're not focusing on technique and form. When it comes to resistance bands, technique and form is everything. Because it's very easy to move weight from point A to point B and not really focusing on the muscle. I see it all the time. I see people with a lot of body fat and a big gut, and they can pump out 3 plates on the bench press. Their form is terrible. They're using their shoulder tendons, that hurts more. They're not even contracting their chest. So with resistance bands, That's why people get discouraged. I think that's why there's this hate against resistance bands. It's because they have the ego in mind of like just moving from point A to point B, because that's what they're used to with weights. But resistance bands, you really have to contract the muscles that you're doing. You really want to feel it. You're going to go a little bit slower there. The technique and form is everything when it comes to building muscle with resistance bands. So if you're looking to really build muscle here, I'm telling you, this is the channel that you want to watch. For instance, there's a lot of people out there who are, let's say they do like a chest fly, because I get messages about this all the time, and they're saying, I'm doing it, but I'm feeling it in my shoulders. Well, there's a reason why, because your technique is bad. And I actually made a video about that. So if you have a problem when it comes to the chest fly, feeling your shoulders, make sure you check out this video next. I tell you the proper way to do it. And make sure that you don't make these mistakes when using resistance bands.